In 2004, the total compensation for the UC was $7.1 billion. In 2006, it's $7.6 billion. In 2008, suddenly it's $9.1 billion, okay? Something's going on. There's a place where the money's going. And
clearly going to build student dorms. Student dorms used to be funded by project-specific bonds that had to be paid out of student rents. We don't know anymore whether student rents are subsidizing, for example, research labs that don't pay for themselves or administrative buildings that don't pay for themselves, because the financing is all lumped together. The same pot of money is being used, all the money is being used to fund all the projects, which means there is no accountability for any of them.
Against them and to say, well, wait a minute, you said you were for access and affordability, but you're proposing this high fee and high aid model that actually makes it so it decreases access for people, and that's part of the justification you're using to ram these fees through, and it's really taking them at their word. That's just one example and turning it around on them, and it's raising hell.
I think it's really going well. It's really important that we're getting all this new information about what the workings of the crisis are and how much
Bob,
and how much kind of shady maneuvers have been happening on the part of the regions, the part of the governor, the part of the UC administration. Well, I think it's really important that students, especially that students are involved in questioning the current practices and policies. I mean, it's interesting if tuition goes up as much as they're talking about going up. The real people who will be screwed will be the sort of ordinary students, not the real poor students who will get financial aid, not the rich students who won't be hurt when taking away, but the vast number of middle-class students that UC is really here to serve will be stretched to the limit, and will be being exploited, in my view, to finance bond issues and other bank profits and things like that. So I think that the most important thing that can happen out of this teaching and out of all the other work that people are doing is that students get mobilized and that the parents get involved and the alumni get involved and people realize, so that people realize how much the UC system is here to serve the state of California and create the prosperity and the opportunity that it needs to do.
Well, I mean, it has just started in a way, but I think it's going really well so far. And it was a privilege to be on the panel with all of the other speakers to hear the different perspectives. I think it's really critical that these sorts of issues become discussed because really we need more transparency in general in what is happening at the UC, and part of that is since the UC is being very untransparent, we need to bring to light what we know and then put it back on the UC to fill in the gaps. Well, I was asked to speak at the TeachIn because I'm the president of UAW 2865. We represent 12,000 teaching assistants, graders, and tutors statewide at the UC, so at 9 of the teaching campuses. And so I was asked to really talk about our perspective and how this is impacting us directly as both students and workers. Well, on the one hand, as students, we're seeing our fees increase and the quality of education decrease. And on the other hand, we're seeing as workers, our employment opportunities decrease. And that has to do with the fact that core educational services and courses are being cut. Well, I think it's really important that the UC looks for solutions that do not balance the budget on the backs of students and workers, and in particular seek to raise revenue from those who can most afford it, to restore state funding. And in part, I think that's a big part of it, is to really have the UC come out for to be a progressive actor for change in California, to push people to use the institution of California as something that, you know, the California public holds dear, and so to let the California public know this is what's at stake because of what's going on with the broken budget and taxation policies. Well, I think a lot of the activism that is happening right now is very encouraging, and it's going to have to increase as we gear up for the Regents meetings in November. It's critical that everybody who can get to UCLA to protest the fee hikes and to really bring to light the impacts that these are having, and to turn the UC's rhetoric around that actually, no, this is not going to work, it's not going to restore public higher education to California, it's actually going to make it less accessible.
That one of the problems that we face here in California with the assault on public higher education throughout the various tiers, so community colleges and Cal State and UC, is not only the way in which the UC and the CSUs and so forth are being encouraged to behave as though they were private corporations, but also underlying it is